Once a corporation is formed, let's talk about the first, most important constituency inside the corporation. It's going to be the shareholders, or the investors, the people who put their money into the business in the hopes that they get more money back out of it. So investors receive, first, when you begin the business, they receive proof of their ownership. That's usually a share certificate. Once upon a time, those would be printed out on awfully fancy vellum or something, and then people could collect those. We don't do that very much anymore. It's just recorded somewhere on a digital ledger, and you have some faith that you have shares in the corporation. All right, the whole point of being an investor in a corporation, if it's a for-profit business, it's for profit. We're not talking about nonprofits here, we're not talking about charities, we're talking about for-profit businesses, and if we can be blunt, the reason people hand their money over is in the hopes of getting more money back. So here's the thing to bear in mind though. When you invest in a company, you get an investment called equity. Equity. Sometimes it's shares, sometimes it's stock, sometimes it's preferred stock, but the general heading is equity. And the most important thing to bear in mind is that equity is only one of two major ways of putting money into a business. The other one is through debt. And with debt, it's pretty straightforward. You give money and you hope to be paid that money back plus some sort of interest. Equity is a different proposition. If you're an investor in a corporation, when you hand your money over, what you're getting back is equity. That is, if we want to be specific or formalistic about it, what we call that is a residuary interest. A residuary interest. That's what stock entitles you to. Now that doesn't sound very good. I don't know anybody who's terribly excited about getting residue. When I think of residue, I think of stuff left on a bathtub, and it doesn't seem very appealing. Sounds kind of gross. But the reason we call it a residuary interest with a corporation is because something else has to happen first. And the first thing that happens when a company has money is it's got to pay its debts. Then and only then, if there's money left over after debts have been paid, debts like salary, payroll, keeping the lights on, overhead, if there's money left over, the holders of the residuary interests have a claim on that money that's left over. If there's not much money left over, they're not going to have very much, their investment's not going to be worth very much. And there are plenty of businesses where there's nothing left over. In fact, there's not even enough money to pay the businesses. Those are businesses that go bankrupt. Many businesses do go bankrupt. Many businesses that are started eventually go out of business. But bear in mind also that a residuary interest, as designated by equity, can be a huge amount. If you pay off all the bills, there's really no limit to how much money might be left over. And if you're talking about a Facebook or an Exxon or an Apple, the amount of residue left over is absolutely gigantic. So the upside is massive. So residuary interests are what's paid or what's left over after debt has been discharged. And the upside is enormous. The downside is pretty straightforward too. If you get paid last and the business isn't doing well, you might get nothing back.